It has been a war of words the last few days between Republican leaders Rick Perry and Mitt Romney. In this battle of the Titans, who's got the goods to beat Obama and beat each other? Let's talk to our special free market panel, Jimmy Pethokoukis, Reuters Breaking Views columnist and CNBC contributor, Ford O'Connell, former presidential campaign advisor and Civic Forum PAC chairman, and Steve Forbes, chairman and editor-in-chief of Forbes Media. Ford, let me start with you. Is Perry going to be the first to draw blood, and on what subject do you reckon?
I think he's going to draw blood because he's the guy who can better relate to the primary voter. For a lot of GOP primary voters, he's the guy that women want to take to the prom. He's the one who can really get out there and relate. But like most bad boys, he's his own worst enemy. And if he goes too far with a bottle of rhetoric, he could hurt himself.
Steve Forbes, what do you think Governor Romney will come out fighting also? Romney is saying, basically, Steve, and get your take on this, that he, Romney, as a private sector CEO, business guy, knows better how to create jobs and grow the economy than a career Paul like Governor Rick Perry. That's Romney's argument. Where do you come out on this?
Well, sometimes people who succeed in business, Larry, don't understand what makes an economy work. And that's why I think Romney remains very vulnerable about Romney Care that he put in Massachusetts, which has been a financial disaster. And it's been, of course, going to be a disaster nationwide as Obamacare, if that's allowed to kick in. Also, the plan that Romney put forth yesterday, calling for virtually a trade war with China and things like that, I don't think are going to sit well with the voters. And I think Rick Perry understands. He had a reform in terms of doing a real tort reform in Texas, avoided raising taxes and the like. So I think Perry, even though he hasn't been the private sector the way Romney has, understands what makes the private sector work, like Reagan did.
If I had to disagree with Steve Forbes, I'll tell you, if there is
the great Steve
Forbes, fantastic. There's one thing I think is going to sit pretty well with the voters, is someone taking an extremely tough stance on China.
Right.
I think Americans believe in free trade, but they don't believe in being suckers. And the American public thinks that we've been played it for suckers by China. I think that of all the things that Romney said in that plan, I think that's going to have the most resonance with voters. I expect to hear it again tonight.
But another buzzword. Let's just talk. I happen to think you're right about China, by the way. I think it's time that America had a little backbone and stood up to China. We don't have to have a trade war, but stand up to China. What about immigration? There's talk that Romney will be tougher on immigration, whether that's good or bad, than Rick Perry will. What's your take on that? Romney playing the immigration card, border security, have them leave the businesses, be tough, crack down on immigrants.
Romney is looking for those little gaps in that Perry record, and that's a big one. He went up to New Hampshire. He's going to be portrayed as an open borders guy. Romney's going to be talking about fences, green berets down there, whatever he can.
And he's going to get
to make the difference.
Because really, Perry is the governor of Texas. Who better knows Hispanics than the governor of Texas?
I'm not saying it's right.
No, I understand that, but I think that Romney goes too far.
But that's a Tea Party weak point as far as the primary, don't you think?
It is, but in the general election and in some of the primary states like Florida, you're going to need Hispanics, and you're going to have to relate to the business interests and to the Hispanic community.
And Steve Forbes, let me go back to Romney's plan. I interviewed him yesterday. He's got this long plan, 59 points. He's pushing the Bush tax cuts. You agree with that. He's also pushing a corporate tax cut. You agree with that. But he's also saying, let's help the middle class by eliminating their capital gains and dividends. Now, will that middle class card play? That's a little different wrinkle than what we expected from Romney. What do you think, Steve?
I think it's going to be seen as Obama light. Yes, it's nice to get rid of the capital gains tax, but do it for everyone, particularly those who have the capital and have the desire to create capital. And again, it's a very timid plan, Larry. And just one thing on China, there are rules on the books that I think the next administration will enforce in terms of property rights, intellectual property rights and the like.
Who's going to enforce them? We'll never enforce them. You are right, yes, Steve, but we never enforce them.
That's fine.
Over, and instead of backbones of titanium, to use Michelle Bachmann, we have backbones of Jell-O when it comes to China.
Well, that's all fine and well, but it's quite another thing to get in what I think Romney betrayed is he doesn't understand monetary policy, Larry. Ooh. That's why you have this trouble. The dollar's very weak. That creates havoc around the world. Romney didn't mention it. And by the way, even though he used exuberant language, Governor Perry understands the Federal Reserve needs fundamental reform.
Romney had a 59-point plan. If I was going to give advice for a 60th point, it would say, I'm going to fire Ben Bernanke.
Right.
That would have been a great 60th point.
Like that.
It doesn't have to beat him up.
Points.
All right, Ford,
Larry, 59 points is like a guy in love with a PowerPoint.
All right.
Like a
It's
consultant.
too complex. And it doesn't
need a
relate to the
president, not a
middle class.
consultant.
People like that. They like the people. Remember, they like that Clinton laundry list. This is like the Romney laundry list of items. Seems like a guy with a lot of
They like
ideas.
Ross Perot talking about the economy with potato chips. That's
Let him
related
make
to the middle
ketchup.
class.
Let him make ketchup if he likes the number 59 or 57.
I got a lot.
That's for Huntsman. He's the catch.
A lot of Kerry supporters here. Somebody's got to stand up for Romney. Jim P., I'll give you the last word. Could Romney surprise? Romney's a tough guy. Come on. I pounded him yesterday in some questions. He pounds right back. I'm not picking sides. I have no skin in the game. I'm just saying, are people on the rest of them right? 10 seconds.
There's an advantage to having run this before. I think he's not a natural campaigner. He's become a lot better. Romney. And I think we'll
Perry's
see
a natural campaigner.
That's right. Romney's not, but he's gotten a
Perry's
lot
the
better.
best. On the campaign
By
trail.
sheer force of will, Romney's gotten better.
Our free market panel, very good stuff. Jimmy Pethokoukis, Ford O'Connell, and Steve Forbes. That's it for tonight's show.